3 steps forward, 1 step back. That's basically Scarlet and Violet in a nutshell. While the amount of content added has made these most recent games one of the best in terms of sheer gameplay, the quality of these games are abysmal. In all honesty, I wish I didn't have to make this video. I think Scarlet and Violet take huge strides in innovating the mainline Pokemon games. And while I'm all for the positive changes they're adding to the game, it's practically impossible not to notice the flaws. Cut and paste walls, blocky landscapes, untextured environment, zero detail, irritating framerate issues, game crashes, and I can keep going, but there's honestly no point. If you've played or even seen this game, the issues are so obvious that I don't even need to point them out. In my opinion, I don't think it's right for Pokemon to send out these completely underdeveloped games and sell them for a full $60 price tag. It's honestly sad to see. The Pokemon Company knows how loyal their fanbase is. They know that no matter how underdeveloped their game is, their fans will always buy it. Because even if the game doesn't come out meeting or even coming close to people's expectations, the fanbase, which technically includes me by the way, will always buy it. Because at the end of the day, they're just excited for a new Pokemon game. It's for this reason that I titled this video claiming that these games' quality is disrespectful, because they're almost abusing their fanbase's loyalty. And I know a lot of people will want to blame the fans. My bad, bro. And I understand where you're coming from. If you want the quality to improve, then stop buying the games. And for a while, I was on board with that statement as well, but I really came to the conclusion that just won't work. At the end of the day, it's a kid's game. Kids aren't going to hyper-focus on the visual quality. And on top of that, the games have garnered such a large fan base that it really wouldn't matter if a few thousand people stop buying the games. The only way I see Pokemon taking any huge steps towards a high-quality game is if their sales drop, which isn't going to happen anytime soon considering their sales are literally breaking records. Meaning that the Pokemon Company knows they can continuously push out these underdeveloped games because they can rely on a loyal fanbase to buy them. The fact that fans of the game have continuously come back to purchase these games, fully aware that the games aren't anywhere near a desired quality, is a testament in itself to the fanbase's loyalty, and I think shows that they deserve better. Seriously, how many other game companies out there can make a game with this level of visuals and this many bugs and still consistently break the top 10 most sold games every year? Now, I'm not saying that Pokemon has to have the same level of graphics as these other open worlds. These games are visually stunning, they're beautiful, but and really no one else is asking for a game like this, or even near this level. The game is relatively stylized. I can tell what they're going for. However, they just need to clean it up. Compare these games to their other competitors on the Switch, and there's almost no comparison. Not only are these games graphically more appealing, but games like Xenoblade can have large areas with numerous NPCs and interactions, yet still run smoothly without NPCs having to pop up randomly all over the place. I get that Game Freak was tasked with creating a relatively large open world game in a limited amount of time. For the amount of time that was actually spent, I'd say that the end product isn't bad when you take that into account. But that's the big issue. Instead of spending the time to actually make something really spectacular, they know that they can make just as much, if probably even more money, if they release these games on a yearly basis because of their sheer popularity. Game Freak isn't a very large studio, yet they've released 2 new games within the same year. In fact, they've hired a second studio to work on BDSP so that they can push out 2 new games within a few months of each other. I wish that instead of hiring other studios so that they can keep pushing out games, why can't they spend all their time and effort to work on one very polished game to release every 2 to 4 years? And I know it's entirely possible for them to make a good-looking game. This is a fan-made trailer of a game I found while researching for this video, and it's almost everything that the game should be. And with their budget, very well could be. It's upsetting because I'm certain that they can release games that look like this, but refuse to because of the extra time and effort that would go into it. Personally, I'd rather wait a few extra years for an extremely high quality Pokemon game rather than get half-baked releases every year. Now, I get they're running a business. If this strategy is working financially, then they have no reason to change it. It's just unfortunate because the fanbase has been very patient with these recent Pokemon games, as there were always expectations of improvement. But now they're going back. The graphics are no better than Sword and Shield, and are actually worse than Legend of Arceus. And it's not just the graphics either. The enormous amount of bugs, glitches, and frame drops is worse than any other mainline game we've ever seen. It's almost like they're pushing it further every time. They're probably in their boardrooms like, no way they'll actually play this shit. It looks like a N64 game. And then we do, and rate it a 9.3 out of 10. But not this time. You know you fucked up when IGN gives you a 6 out of 10. These are the same guys that gave The Last of Us 2 a 10 out of 10. You know you messed up big time. However, this video isn't just a bash on Scarlet and Violet. Like I stated in the beginning, this game takes a step back in terms of quality, but it's taken 3 steps forward in terms of gameplay. Scarlet and Violet really capture the feeling of an open world. You know, everyone these days wants to be Breath of the Wild. However, in a lot of these games, there's a lot of emptiness, or meaningless tasks to make the game feel less empty. But luckily for Pokemon, there's Pokemon. The world never truly felt empty to me. If your goal was to complete the dex, then there was always new Pokemon to encounter. And even if you weren't going for the dex, there's tons of little things around the world to help. Trainers, swords, Gimmighoul, and a bunch of items and TMs. Not to mention Koraidon and Miraidon are great additions for an open world. Something Pokemon always did was block off certain places with random excuses. Forbid me? But why can't I just go around you? What the fuck? But in this game, physical barriers actually make more sense. It feels natural. And you know, I thought balancing a fully open world game without feeling restricted would be challenging. But giving players access to almost the entire map and only blocking off certain parts of the map depending on how far you are in the Titan quest actually makes a lot of sense in this game. This is really one of the only recent open world Pokemon games that really feels like an actual open world. Say open world again. Seriously though, this game really does capture the feeling of immersion that these most recent games haven't been able to achieve effectively. The fact that this game encourages players to explore the entire world, whether it be to catch legendaries, complete the dex, or do raid battles, it allows the player to familiarize themselves with the entire map. Mountains in the distance aren't just there for the sake of being a backdrop. You can travel across the entire map to capture a mon you usually wouldn't be able to until late game. I used to be psyched as a kid that I could do one gym out of order, but here I can do whatever I want. If I lose to a stronger gym leader, I can go to the other side of the world, strengthen my team, and come back to kick his ass. It feels like there's an actual living world, not just a series of checkpoints that I can't deter from. This game makes me want to spend more time in the world, and do things like complete the dex and make a competitive team outside of Showdown. And it's not just the improvement to world design either, it's the smaller improvements that have really collectively improved the content. Everything from being able to progress your world while playing with another friend, raid battles aren't boring like they were before, training your Pokemon competitively is far easier, you don't have to look at a black loading screen every time you enter a cave. And there's so many small improvements that really help the game out that it just sucks that the visual quality is so lacking. I just think how in a game like Breath of the Wild, even though there weren't Pokemon to fill the map, I never minded the emptiness. In fact, I almost preferred it. because everywhere I went looked amazing. Even though I wasn't necessarily doing anything a lot of the time, just riding through the world on my horse, looking at the scenery, was enough to really draw me into their world. Just imagine if Pokemon games could achieve the same thing. There's so many times in this game that I felt like an area would look amazing just if the graphics weren't so poor. I can only hope that they take the time and effort to give their future games the quality that they really deserve. You know, right now I'm seeing a lot of people either bashing really hard on these games because of the lack of quality, and I'm also seeing the exact opposite side of the spectrum with people ignoring the quality completely and acting like the game is perfect. And I think both sides are right and wrong. I think it's just as important to shine a light on the positive additions to the game as it is to address the negative qualities. I don't think that performance issues should represent the entire game, just as much as I don't think you should ignore the obvious flaws, because you're only cheating yourself out of improvement. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are a very fun but flawed game, but luckily the path to improvement is relatively simple in concept. The only huge complaints were about the visual quality. Take the time to improve the graphics, bugs, and frame rate, and we're going to have an amazing game. Hey guys, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and sorry this video is coming out late. It's been in production for a while, but hopefully I can post again soon, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Anyways, take it easy. Peace.